Hey everybody, this is Richard and welcome back to the shop. And in this episode we're going to be completing the second component of this what I call a boring bar for an electrician. In part 1 I made 3 of these. This is 303 stainless, and in today's video we're going to be making the second part, which is this piece here. It basically is going to be sleeved exactly like these, and we're going to be putting a good 3-inch long taper on this that comes down to a point just like our live centers. So the first order of business is we're going to go ahead and punch holes in these and sleeve them and pin the sleeve in place with Loctite and set screws just like we did in part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, please go back and check it out. There's some nice machining shots in that one, and I hope you enjoy. Let's get on to the project. Stop yakking. And I'm sure everybody knows it, is you got to keep your drill bit moving. You don't want to linger in one place for too long, because this stuff will work harden and make your job miserable. It drills out pretty nice. As long as the chips keep evacuating, just keep on going. Well, the 5/16 went through it just fine, so now we're going to go ahead and punch it out to a 1/2 inch. We're running about 400 RPM. This is a 45/64 drill bit, brand new. It's pretty sharp, and it's working pretty good on the stainless, so I figured I'd just show it. Well, I decided to change things up a little bit. I've got it drilled out to 3/4. On the other 3 that I did, I took it up to 15/16 and then went to the boring bar, but just so there's less wear and tear on the machine, and I believe this is going to be a little bit faster anyway, we're just going to go ahead and bore it out. So here we go. Well, that didn't seem to go too well at all, did it? Well, I ended up going back to the 15/16 because I just didn't have enough clearance with the 3/4 drill for this bar. So now we'll go ahead and bore it out to size to fit that guy. Good deal. 2 more to go. Well, in case you missed part 1, to go ahead and hold these threaded sleeves in this bore right here, we're going to use 609 bearing retaining compound. And we're going to put 2 set screws to keep it pulling out should the Loctite fail. But I don't think it's going to see enough pressure to worry about that. Go ahead and turn the machine on just to spread it around. Spread it around real nice. I've cleaned both the inside bore and the sleeve with brake cleaner. So any excess doesn't flow back onto the threads. See if you guys can see that. Yep. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Wipe any excess off. After the Loctite sets up, we'll go ahead and face this off flush, and then we'll go ahead and set up the taper attachment and put a big old taper on this side. So we'll be back. Well, this little exercise that you're seeing right here is me drawing crosshairs 1.25 inches in from the end of the bar using the threading tool, so I know where to center punch and drill these holes. And I'll be doing that 6 times on all 3 bars. Yeah, and you want to be careful tapping stainless by hand. I've already got 1 broken tap. If it stops cutting well, just go ahead and swap out taps if you got extras. These were good quality taps too, but snap this one right off. Yeah, and make sure you wear safety glasses while you're tapping, even by hand, because when they break, stuff goes everywhere. And it's sharp. Now the customer wanted a taper over on this side, so in case they need to pull this thing back out of the dirt backwards, it's not sitting up against a flat shoulder here. So he said he wanted it to come in 1/2 inch and just taper down this way. I already put a little chamfer on there, a very ugly one when I was doing the boring. I was getting a bunch of chatter, but I knew I was going to go ahead and put this taper on, so that didn't matter. I only want to come down 1/8 inch and go 1/2 inch that way. So basically the numbers work out to 14 degrees. So I'm going to make a mark a 1/2 inch in from the end. I've got the compound set at 14 degrees. That's going to put a taper on this and bring it down 1/8 of an inch from the OD right now. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this out. Go ahead and speed up the machine here, because we don't want to be sitting here all day. Now the next operation I need to do, because once I put the tapered spear point on the other end, I'm not going to be able to hold it in the chuck. I need to go ahead and take off the, about 10 thousandths of the outside diameter. It's going to clean up this outside rough metal, take off our tick marks from when we drew our crosshairs for the drilled and tapped holes. So let me go ahead and swap out tools, and we'll knock out skim coating that surface there. I was having a problem with the chatter, obviously, because we got a lot of stick out. So I went ahead and broke out my live bullnose center that I made in a previous video. I went ahead and stuck it in the threaded bore. So we've got the end supported, and we're going to just buzz off 2 thousandths. We're going to clean this thing up. We got no chatter and good looking surface finish from what I could see right here. I should have probably put in that live center from the get-go. If we could put a nice surface finish on it, then we'll go ahead and do it. And that looks gorgeous. But when you do need it, it sure comes in handy. And it's not even warm, so it's running good. Well, they turned out real nice, and now we're just going to go ahead and hold it in the chuck, and we're going to put a taper over on this side and bring it down to basically a spear point. So they're looking pretty good. Nice satin finish. It's going to get beat up the first time it goes in the ground, but when the customer gets them, they're going to look good. Well, we're on the last operation, putting the spear point on these pieces, and as you can see, there's no taper attachment set up. I needed to cut about a 13 or 14 degree angle, and the most it'll cut is 4 degrees. So I've got my compound set up at 20 degrees, and we're going to cut a taper on this that's about 2 inches long, and I have one to show you that I've already done. And the reason why I'm set at 20 degrees instead of the 13 that I wanted is my compound limits how much travel I have. So we're going to go ahead and turn the other two just like this. I apologize for mentioning the taper attachment multiple times, thinking I was going to use it. And I sure did my darndest to go ahead and include it in the video. I'll have to bring it back at another time. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and turn these down. I'll show you a little bit of turning on this. It's basic stuff. Well, I'm generating a lot of heat with the aggressive cutting on this little point over here, so I'm just cooling it down with some water on a rag. So I'll just stop every once in a while, cool the sucker down, and go back to cutting. That's something you want to keep in mind if you ever use Loctite or super glue in one of your builds. Don't let your metal heat up and you'll loosen your part right out of it. A little mark right there, but it's going to have to do. Well, that pretty much wraps up this project. I'll tell you what, it's easy making one of something. When you have to make 3 identical pieces, that's where the challenge comes in. You got to keep your wits about you, otherwise you make a big mistake. But all these pieces turned out really sweet. I'm very pleased with them. I'm sure the customer will be. I'll see if I can get some video of these being used out in the field. And in the meantime, thank you everybody for subscribing, commenting on the videos. We're well over 1 million views now on the channel, and I'm up close to 11,000 subscribers. Unbelievable. When I first started, I thought I'd be lucky to get 50. So thank you everybody. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified of future videos. And in the meantime, go out in the shop and make something from nothing.